I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop.
This episode is brought to you by TaxAct. Don't do your taxes alone. Join TaxAct's National Admin Night. Admin nights are social gatherings for getting through your to-do list. So get ready for a night of fun, finding deductions, and filing taxes with TaxAct, where you can file your federal and state return for just $49 through April 8. Let's get together and get them over with. Visit taxact.com/admin-night for details.
Hey, it's Jason here with ZeroToTravel.com. A quick but exciting announcement, a huge announcement, a big change to the show that you are going to love. After almost 1,000 inspiring conversations with travelers from all walks of life, we're evolving the podcast into something even bigger. Now, Zero to Travel was never meant to be about one host, about me. It was about you, the listener, the listening community, the conversations, the shared curiosity that brings us travelers together. And with that in mind, I've always worked to build a community-powered show here. And the community-powered version of Zero to Travel that you are going to hear in the coming months/years includes a rotating, highly curated group of expert co-hosts who can bring their spark, their unique travel lens, their one-of-a-kind experiences to conversations here on the show. I have had guest hosts here before, but this is a more permanent thing, the Host Collective. So again, you're going to be meeting some of these new members of the Host Collective in the coming months. And we've got an episode from one of them today, Paige McClanahan, whose work I highly respect. She has lived outside of her native country, the United States, over the last 17 years. In Switzerland, Sierra Leone, the UK, Kenya. Now she lives in France. She was a New York Times travel journalist, and she's an author. She published the book called The New Tourist. You've heard her on the show before if you've been listening for a while. And she's just got, well, a certain je ne sais quoi, as they would say in France, where she lives right now. She's so insightful as an interviewer and a journalist and a commentator. I really respect her work and I value her opinion, and she writes and speaks a lot about sustainable travel, over tourism, these types of things. But as a traveler herself and a lifelong lover of travel, she just brings so much to the table personally, and she brings all of that into all of her conversations, and with a strong focus, as we do here on the show, on you, the listener, making sure every episode is something that you can walk away from feeling entertained, inspired, some actionable tips, practical things mixed with stories, all the things that we love. And that is the goal of the Host Collective. It's not to change the show. We still have the same format, but it's to widen the perspectives for you, the listener, and to empower you to travel the world on your terms with even more amazing episodes. So with that said, I'm going to let it roll into the first episode with our new member of the Host Collective, our first member of the Host Collective, Paige McClanahan. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks for listening.
In our today's life, everything is so rushed out. You have to reply to emails. You have to get there as fast as possible. Do so many tasks during the day. And when you take the Amtrak train, you're such cut out from the world. You can finally read the book you want to read for days, years. You finally in your own bubble where the time doesn't matter anymore. You're just here, and this is, to me, it's really one of the most peaceful moments was on board the Amtrak train.
That is today's guest, Constant Thibault, talking about one of his favorite overnight train journeys anywhere in the world. And yes, you heard right, one of his favorites is an Amtrak overnight train, which, to be honest, I was both surprised and delighted to hear. But Constant certainly knows what he's talking about. I mean, this guy grew up riding trains. He has worked for railroad companies. He's built a hugely successful YouTube channel called Simply Railway. He's written a book about overnight trains. And, this last part just kind of blows my mind. Constant is now in the process of launching his very own night train company. So you're going to hear that whole story in my conversation with him today. You're also going to hear Constant's top 4 overnight train journeys anywhere in the world. I asked him for 3, and he gave 3 plus a 4th as a bonus. You'll also hear Constant talk about how he grew his YouTube channel to nearly 300,000 subscribers. And listen up toward the end of our conversation. Constant shares a very exciting opportunity that I think might appeal to a lot of the people who listen to this show. So you'll get all of that and so much more today. So get cozy, settle in. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend.
You're listening to the Zero to Travel podcast, where we explore exciting travel-based work, lifestyle, and business opportunities, helping you to achieve your wildest travel dreams.
Hello and welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, the show to help you travel the world on your terms. In case we haven't met before, I'm Paige McClanahan. I'm a travel writer, a former travel journalist, and I'm the author of the book, The New Tourist, Waking Up to the Power and Perils of Travel, which was published last year. But in addition to the writing stuff that I've got going on in my life, I'm also a newly minted member of the Zero to Travel Host Collective, and I'm so excited to be here. So the collective is like a rotating cast of trusted guest hosts. We're bringing in some new perspectives, new destinations to explore, some new inspiration, and of course, plenty of practical advice to help you travel the world on your terms. Because that's what we do here on the Zero to Travel podcast, right? I mean, I've been a fan of this show for years, and I've been lucky enough to appear as a guest a few times, which is always a lot of fun. So I'm thrilled to be able to bring you my very first episode today about a subject that is very dear to my heart, trains. Before we get into it, remember to sign up for the free podcast newsletter to keep in touch and get updates on new episodes. The newsletter also helps you stay on top of travel trends, get money-saving travel advice, and loads more. Check that out at zerototravel.com/newsletter. So I don't know about you, but I find there's just something so enticing and kind of romantic even about the idea of train travel. I mean, just the whole experience, from discovering a new railway station to watching the world whisk by out your window, and then, stepping off the train right in the middle of a big bustling city. And of course, at a time when climate change is on everyone's minds, trains offer this super win-win solution. I mean, it's a cool experience, it gets you where you need to go, and it's good for the climate. So as a journalist, I reported on train travel several times for the New York Times. And what was so cool about doing that reporting was that I saw just how much is happening with trains right now, especially in Europe. More services are opening up, there are new connections between cities, and there's just a ton of really organic demand for this kind of travel. So I get into all of this in my conversation with Constant, but what I really loved about our discussion was just seeing how this guy has been able to take this true passion that he has, for all things train, and combine that with some real hard skills that he's developed over the years, and then put it all together to create this really beautiful idea, his night train company, that I think will be arriving precisely at the moment when society really needs it. So yes, there's a lot to look forward to in this interview. Be sure to stick around on the back end, and I'm going to share one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite travel books of all time. Very excited to share that with you. But for now, let's get into the interview. So, Thibault Constant, welcome to the Zero to Travel podcast, my friend. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Paige. I'm really happy to be here.
So Simply Railway is your YouTube channel. Nox is the night train company that you have recently launched. You've also written a book on night trains that we're going to talk about in a little bit. I understand you also have trains in your blood. Is that right? This is a family tradition?
Yes, indeed. I mean, the passion I have for train is really something I have since I can remember. The whole I fall in love with night train and train in general is basically my dad was working for the French National Railway in France, and I'm from the north of France, and we have some family in the south of France. And basically, every school holidays, we would take the night train from the north to the south. And I mean, my first train ride, my parents keep telling me when it was in July 1996, and I was born in June 1996. So I was 2 or 3 weeks old, and I took my first night train. It's really in my blood. Over the years, we really fall in love with train with my brother because we were always in train, night train. We had this passion. So it was honestly fantastic to just always travel every few weeks because, of course, in France, we have a lot of school holidays. And so every time we had some free moment, our dad would send us on a night train. And I had made my whole childhood memories with my brother on this train. So this is really how we fall in love with it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And, comparing a night train journey as a kid to sort of a long car ride, which is what I grew up with in America, a night train seems a lot more exciting and fun and less constraining.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to hear the story of your YouTube channel, Simply Railway, which has almost 300,000 subscribers and videos of train journeys all over the world. Like, how did you get started on this channel, and how did you get so much growth and find such an audience?
All right, so it's a long story, but hear me out. So everything started back in 2018. Back then, I was doing my master's degree, and I was doing some sort of apprenticeship with the French National Railway. That was my first step back into the railway because, of course, growing up in high school, you're not going to come out of like, oh, I love trains so much. It's like a nerdy thing. So it's something I had put on pause for like quite a while when I was in high school. And then when I was growing up, when I was toward the end of my studies, I was like, okay, let's get back into the railway. This is really something I like. And so I was working for the French National Railway as like an engineer for like high-speed trains. So like not engineer like in North America where you drive train, but managing train parts basically. That's what I was doing. Lovely job, but I wanted something more. I wanted to travel more. Actually, I was already traveling quite a lot, but not that much. And when you work for the French railway, you have this little magical card where you can travel pretty much everywhere in France for free.
Oh, wow.
Where you can take most trains, and also 50% on most European railway. And so at this time, I was like, okay, why not traveling more? And I was watching a lot of YouTubes, and I was watching a lot of video about people who were flying a lot and were doing trip reports and basically taking flights and making video out of it. And really, I was like, there's nothing for trains. And so I remember one day I was going to work. Basically, I was living in Lille in the north, and I was working in Paris. And so the commute was 1 hour by speed train. And the next morning, I was like, okay, let's try it. And so on my way to work, I made a video about with the same style of this airplane YouTubers. A few days later, it was already online. And for like a few months, that was really a thing I was doing after work, 2 or 3 hours, just editing on the train. When I was going to see some friends in Switzerland, I would make a video. Every time there was a new train, I was making a video. It was, really something small. And I remember after 1 year, I had my first paycheck from YouTube, which was like about €70. And I was so happy about it. I was like, oh, yes. So cool. But anyway, that was really, really a side hustle, really, nothing more. And later on, I wanted to work abroad, and this is where I met North America because I was done with my studies. I wanted to work abroad, especially in North America. I found a job within Alstom, which is like a French train manufacturer. I weirdly found a job in Missouri.
All right.
As like a logistics engineer. Yes. So that was quite something. So I moved in January of 2020.
And you were still doing your railway videos at the same time?
Yes. And so something I forgot to say is, I was done with my studies and my work on the French railway in summer of 2019. And so after this, I was like, okay, I know I will move to North America at some point. Let's do a big European trip where I'm really going past the country I know and really going far away and like by night train, because that was a topic that was interesting me a lot back then. Even before the hype about night train, I was like, okay, I grew up on night train. I know if you go in Eastern Europe, there's a bunch of night train. Let's go explore. And for like a month, I just took a backpack and just hop on rail, and not even interrail, but like really classical train ticket. And it was discounted with my previous job. And so I did this. My idea was, I knew I would be in North America for quite a while, so I wanted to have like a lot of video in backup and just continuing to edit video. Fast forward to January 2020, I moved to the US in the middle of Missouri, like a really small town called Warrensburg, Missouri. On all the places, I ended up in a small town in Missouri, which was at the beginning I was like, but then I really loved it. But I would get to that in a second. Of course, come COVID in March 2020, and I was like, okay, my work was still going on, and I had a lot of video as a backup from Europe. So I was like, okay, I would just continue my videos. Started to travel a bit in North America to make train videos in North America. The whole thing blew up because, of course, everybody was in quarantine, started to watch YouTube videos about travels. At the same time, there was this little thing in Europe where people were rethinking their mobility. And like, maybe we should slow down. Maybe we should like rethink the way we consume travel. Maybe everything. And so everybody was like, oh, maybe we should do trains. Maybe we should do night train. It's something that we used to do like 20 years ago. Why not? I was the only folk around just speaking highly about night train because I had done so many videos on my YouTube channel. And it became quite popular. And then also, I was the only one in North America making videos about Amtrak, which is like the national railroad in the US. And nobody was doing that. I was the only YouTuber to do like Amtrak video. And so that combination of, people getting interested into rails, lockdown, and had the exclusivity on many train journeys in North America, my channel grew quite substantially. And for like a few months, it was just crazy. And then by like June 2021, my contract with Nelson was ended because it was a full-time job, but not like an undetermined time to contract. It was like a fixed time contract. I had to go back to France for like not visa issue, but I had to come back in France at some point. And so after this, I was like, okay, there is no way I'm going to like a normal job. I make more money traveling the world and take trains. And from there, I just dedicated myself to make videos about train and promote train travel because, of course, something you should know about me, I'm really concerned about the planet. I have quite some anxiety about the climate crisis and everything. And I know from making a lot of research that driving is just absolutely terrible for the planet. So I was like, okay, people like the way I promote train travel, I would just dedicate myself to that and to make the experience better. And then I just started traveling the world and make video about train, and especially night train. Where I became quite known for being the influencer of night train. Where I got the book deal when I was living in the US, and it was released in 2021. And yeah, this is really how I got to create Simply Highway and this whole crazy adventure.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's so cool. I love hearing about when someone's personal passion, which very clearly for you, this is a personal passion of trains and night trains, just aligns with a certain set of skills and a certain movement in the culture and society to create something like this. So huge congratulations. Well, we're going to get to your favorite night train journeys later in the conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts just on night trains in general. There's something kind of like fascinating or sort of romantic about them. How do you explain your own fascination with night trains or, a broader fascination with night trains in the culture around us?
So to me, of course, a lot of people are saying, yeah, it's romantic, blah, blah, blah. It's like authentic. Sure. But to me, night train are more for practicality. Because as much as I love train, when you want to do long journeys, above 500 kilometers, usually you spend your whole day on the train. If you want to go from Paris to Barcelona, for example, in Europe, or like Paris to Berlin, you spend your whole day on the train. You leave at 8 o'clock in the morning from Paris, and you arrive at like 5, 6 o'clock in Barcelona or Berlin. Your whole day is pretty much messed up. And don't get me wrong, it's still really enjoyable. You can do what you want. You can have a coffee. You can eat. You can stroll around. You can write your book. I don't know. You can do a lot of things. But at the end of the day, you're still wasting your day. This is where, to me, it gets a bit impractical. And night train, this is the only mode of transport that feels like teleportation to me, because you take the train at like, let's say 8, 9 o'clock, you relax for 1 hour, you read your book, and then you go to sleep, and you sleep for 8 hours. Of course, if you sleep well, because right now it's. I mean, I will get to that in a second, but if you have your 8 hours of sleep and you wake up, you're like in a different country with different landscape. It just feels fantastic, and you're like, okay, I haven't wasted any single time. And really, when it's done right, a night train journey can feel like 4 hours. And this is where you can be really competitive against day train and flying, because the experience is just, okay, I'm here already, and I save a hotel night. For example, I always take the weekend in Barcelona, for example. You're in Paris, you want to go to Barcelona for the weekend. You fly, let's say at 6 o'clock on Friday night, but you still have to take a half day on Friday to get early to the airport, blah, blah, blah. You arrive late. And then you do your weekend, and you leave on like Sunday afternoon, because you have to get back to Paris. With a night train, you could like finish your day in Paris, board the train, and arrive in the morning in Barcelona. Do your whole day because you're rested, you're fine. Take a hotel, and on Sunday night you can get back, and at 8 o'clock you can be in Paris and ready to have your whole day of work. And so you save money, you save time. It's just pretty fantastic. But it's. I mean, of course, there is this romantic aspect of it, and like the nostalgia of like how we used to travel, but also it's really practical.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment. I know you love earning travel rewards and cash back, and that's why you're going to love Rakuten. With Rakuten, you can earn cash back on everything you need to book your dream trip, hotels, flights, rental cars, experiences, and more, while still booking through your favorite travel sites. And don't worry, cash back can be earned on top of earning the credit card points and the hotel and airline loyalty points that matter most to you, depending on how you make your booking. Plus, with Rakuten, you can also earn cash back on groceries and other purchases like electronics, pet supplies, and more. And the best part, you can join today for free and start earning cash back on top of your travel rewards. Go to Rakuten.com or get the app. That's Rakuten, Rakuten. Rakuten, the most rewarding way to shop.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
Now, back to the show.
I mean, there's something that I love about just the idea of waking up in the train and opening the little curtains and seeing a brand new landscape that you don't recognize kind of speeding by outside the window. And of course, the question of practicality. I mean, just with trains in general, that's such a huge bonus, right? You don't have to get, often airports are an hour and a half outside the city. There'll be traffic, and then there's the security and just all the different steps of going through the airport. Trains are just so sleek and simple and convenient too. So it's my understanding that night trains, especially night trains in Europe, had a real moment kind of 70s, 80s, 90s. And then we saw a decline, maybe in interest, maybe in investment. But now we're in this kind of stage of a real renaissance of night trains in Europe. And, of course, you are part of this with your new night train company. Maybe we can talk about that, a little bit later in the conversation. But yeah, how do you see this resurgence of night trains in Europe? Like, what's driving this?
So the story of night train in Europe is quite interesting. Unlike Asia or North America, where night train always been there, in Europe for decades, from the 1930s all the way to the 70s, it's just the best way to travel long distances without wasting time. There was no high-speed train that would bring you from Paris to Marseille in 3 hours. So the only way was night train, and it was really popular. And state railway companies were investing a lot into them because it was popular. In the 70s and 80s, high-speed rail came, suddenly you could cross the country in like half of the time. So suddenly night train were like less economic, made less sense. And of course, railway had invested a lot into like these new high-speed trains, because night train were competing a bit against high-speed train on like longer journey. And so this is where they stopped a bit developing a bit the offer, and where they're like, okay, let's leave it as it is. For like 20 years, of course, there was steady a bit decline of like passengers, because there was no investment into the rolling stock. Yeah, it was just going down. And then low-cost airline arrived in like the early 2000. That was like almost the beginning of the end for night train. The worst moment was between 2010 and 2017, where honestly, every year we will witness like the loss of 1, 2, 3, 4 night trains across Europe. It was just terrible. Of course, they were replacing it with a day train, which was just not economical. I mean, until 2008, we had like a Paris to Barcelona and Paris to Madrid, Paris to Milan, Paris to Rome night trains. All were just completely abandoned or like replaced by a day train, but was not really practical. I mean, still, as I told you, you still have to spend your whole day on the train. After 2010, most people have forgotten about night train. They were like, oh, it's something from the past. It's dirty. And there was also like a huge misconception about night train, that it was not really safe, because there was a lot of robbery in the 90s and murder. Like, yeah. And of course, State Railway didn't care. They were like, we don't care, but since night train, the future is high-speed train. Let's just forget about it. There was no really innovation in the night train sector. Really, you ask anybody in 2015, like, their future for night train, everybody was saying no. I mean, I was taking this night train back in the days in 2016, 2017. It was scary. There was almost nobody on board the train. It was only mostly old people, the people who really liked the idea of night train. So the first revival of night train came from Austria, actually, where the State Railway OBB purchased the whole City Nightline network. City Nightline network was a Deutsche Bahn company. So it was like a cooperation of, it was a brand for night train, and between the Swiss, the Austrian and the German, but it was mostly led by the German. And in 2016-17, the Dutch railway was saying, no, it's not practical anymore. We are losing too much money. We don't want it anymore. And the Austrian, who were seeing a growing demand for sustainable travel back then, like a tiny one. At this point, like, people were starting to rethink a bit their mobility. The early adopters were like, okay, maybe we should stop flying, because the first studies came out about how bad can aviation be. And so the Austrian Railway bought this old City Nightline network and rebranded it to Nightjet. And so they had like a brand new branding. They changed some things in the route network to make it more economical. And suddenly people were speaking again about night train. But that was not really it. I mean, it was mostly like quarter to Central Europe. Then in 2020 came in. And this is what a bit saved night train. Because back then, as I told you earlier, most people were rethinking their mobility. They were like, okay, maybe we should slow down on like hyper-tourism, huge consumption of travel. I mean, I was a bit like this, just taking Ryanair every weekend, so also whatsoever. I mean, it was really like in 2015, 2020, this was really a thing. You could find plane ticket for like 20 euros round trip. I mean, how can you beat that? I had stopped when I really found out the huge impact, the huge carbon impact. And I was like, okay, it's maybe not a good idea to do so. And so, yeah, back then, 2020, people were like, okay, but why we don't have a night train anymore? And people were asking about it. Well, why? And suddenly, French government were like, oh, yes, we have suppressed this night train a couple of years ago. You want it back? Okay. And I mean, this is like a really short summary of what happened. And now people were like, okay, yeah, we had this night train. Why we don't have it anymore? We want it. It was really practical. It's crazy how really people have saved a bit. Of course, there was more and more people who wanted to like ban flying. So of course, more people on trains, like snowball effect into like more demand. And yeah, it's pretty much what happened.
It's so interesting. I mean, this conversation about travel and climate change, and so often it's sort of, one pitted against the other, right? It's like, oh, well, either, if you want to travel, it's going to be bad for the climate. So how do we sort of balance these, or how do we, how do you justify something? But I love trains because it's just an example of a beautiful win-win situation. I mean, it's a beautiful experience. It's a fun and easy experience. And it's good for the climate. And I think it's wonderful to hear it, as you've described, that there's a real demand. There's a real interest from people. That's really what's part of this. And I understand that. We've talked a lot about train travel in Europe, but I saw that the most watched video on your YouTube channel is from the United States, is a rail journey that you did in the United States. Can you tell people about what was that rail journey, and why do you think that video in particular has been so popular?
All right, so the video you're talking about is from New York to Miami. How do I explain this? I think Americans in general are, a bit fed up in general with flying and driving everywhere, and they really, I think most people want to have like public transit, want to have like trains, but it's so difficult. It's just so difficult. Amtrak is barely surviving. Every time there is like a new train in the US, it's like a huge revolution, but it's just so small if you compare to Europe. And that video was quite interesting because, of course, nobody had done like a video between Miami and New York. And also it was, at the time, it was their brand new sleeping car carriage from Amtrak. And I was the first one to make a video about it. And everybody was hyped up about like this new sleeping car, which honestly was not like a revolution. It was just like an evolution of the previous model. But it was at the perfect time where people were like, oh, okay, maybe why don't we have this night train in North America? And it's just, that's why it became quite popular. I don't know. It's the magic of YouTube sometimes, but I really think Americans are craving for trains. That I am sure when you ask most people. Of course, most people, they are unknown of the concept of train. That's something I truly believe, Paige, is if you give good trains. Trains in general are just really good. People usually love it, but you have to give it good to them. You have to give like a good product to them. Otherwise, it's just they won't do it.
Do you know, I think a lot of Americans might not even realize there is an overnight train from New York to Miami. So how cool that you're helping people discover that service. A quick note for, train lovers who are listening now. Later in the episode, we're going to talk about a very specific opportunity that Thibault is looking to fill at the moment. But for right now, I would love to turn the conversation to the train company that you are launching, Thibault. So Knox, you just announced this a couple of months ago, if I understand correctly. Where did this idea come from to launch your own night train company? That seems like a big shift from doing railway videos to actually launching a physical company. Tell us that story.
So the story behind it is actually a bit crazy. To be fair, that was always my dream to have like a night train company at some point. But I thought for my 40s, something like later in my life, I was like, I don't have the kind of experience right now. I really wanted to go back into the railway industry, like the really hardcore, where I just like manage train and everything to gain experience and then manage my own train company. But things went a bit faster, because my co-founder, his name is Janek Smala, who was one of the launcher of Flixtrain in Germany. So Flixtrain is like a low-cost brand for train, which is super popular, one of the most popular train service in Germany at the moment. And that guy, he did some crazy calculation about night train in general, how we can make things profitable, basically. And he always came back to the night train, and he was like, okay, there is a couple of things we need to change within the night train industry too. Because right now, when you look at night train, they are still stuck into a niche market where you have like environmentalists, families, and adventurers, basically. And it's hard to make a profit with just that niche target group. So what you need to do is to reach way more people, is to change a couple of things in your product. And this is why I really help him designing a good night train, like what really people are expecting. Because we've talked to a lot of people before launching Knox. We had Janek has calculated all the operation, what we need to achieve to be profitable on the long term, like which route we need to cover, how many people on board trains. And so, yeah, this is really where I started, and I brought a lot of experience from all my night train journeys in the past, and the feedback I had from people. For example, one of the most requesting thing, and I think that's what's clearly missing on night train, is just privacy. Right now, you share your compartment with strangers, which is not okay. Even when you pay like €100, €200, and you sleep next to 4 people. I mean, it's okay for me, it's okay for some people. It's not okay for the masses. And this is what we're trying to achieve, bring night train to the masses. This is really the core of Nox, is to bring night train to the masses. So like to regular travelers, business travelers.
The concept for Nox is that every person has a private room, or if you're traveling with, your partner, that seems revolutionary. So the whole train is made up of private compartments.
Exactly. From like, we have 3 room types. And actually one is really inspired from North America, an Amtrak product. So we have 3 room types from 1 to 2 person. And yeah, privacy for everyone, because this is really what people are craving for night train. Because of course right now you can still book on current night train, you can book your own compartment. It's just gonna cost you like 300, 400, 500 euro even. It's just not possible. I mean, if you want to bring night train to the masses, I don't think you can. There is a lot of willingness to pay for 500 euro for like a 14-hour train journey.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, though, if you're buying a ticket on a night train and you're getting your own private compartment, you're paying for both the transit from the middle of one city to the middle of another city. In some cases, you might be paying for your food. In some cases, right, your meals might be included in the price of your ticket. And you're essentially paying for a hotel room, right, on the train, especially if like it's a private room. So I guess, it's not really a direct price comparison with sort of a Ryanair flight, because what you're getting, and then you're not paying the cost of the taxi ride out to the airport, if that's what you're doing, So it's really all inclusive in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but it's hard to convince people because when you ask the main motivation for why they are flying compared to train, it all comes down to the price. It's hard to convince people. Of course, you can have like a night train that is €100 from point A to point B, and the same there is a flight €100. People, like €89 maybe. People will still choose the flight, even though you have like the ground transportation. There's so much in between. You have the hotel, and usually when we really look at statistics, of course, night train usually wins. But the main issue with that is night train are failing on the key proposition of sleeping. That's the big issue, and this is what we're doing with Nox, is just to have like a good sleep. And to have a good sleep, you don't want to share your cabin with strangers. That's something I see every day on night train. I mean, you are next to someone that's snoring, who doesn't want to shut off the light until 2 a.m., somebody that's drunk. It's happening all the time. And so many times I had this bad night on night train because, sometimes you just cannot, because the guy next to you is just annoying and there's nothing you can do. So, one of the main motivation for me to create Nox was really promoting night train on like my social media and everything, and having random people who are flying actually saying, "Hey Thibault, I tried your night train, your advice to me. Cool, it was €250. I slept for 2 hours and I arrived 3 hours late. Cool, I will never do it again." And this is really what was basically I'm like, no, there's so much people right now who want to try night train, and we are failing.
Yeah, well, how cool that you're seeing that challenge. You're taking your personal passion and all of the expertise and the experience that you've gained, taking all of these night trains in Europe and around the world, and putting that all together to create a solution that you can offer to all of us. So thank you. And so the night train Nox is due to launch in 2027. Is that right?
Late 2027.
Okay, 2027. And what cities are you looking to serve? I mean, maybe it's early days, but I would love to hear any other details you can share.
So I cannot give a proper launch route. That's because we want to be flexible. We don't want to commit between a certain pair of city. But if you go to the website, you can see all the route we will cover. I mean, you can check it out, and we have like around 35, 40 routes for like the 2035 horizon. what we are really eyeing is really the air demand, people who are flying right now. So we really focus on like busy air corridor, busy city pairs, Paris to Barcelona, Paris to Berlin, Berlin to Copenhagen. No, actually Berlin to Vienna, for example. Really where there is a lot of demand for travel. Because of course we won't go to random places where there is, of course, a night train would be nice, but there is not enough demand to make sense economically. Because at the end of the day, we need to be profitable. That's we don't have any subsidy, unlike some airlines. We need to make a profit to be sustainable, and so that's why we are really hiring city pairs where there is a lot of demand.
Cool. I would love to ask you about some of your favorite night train journeys, just in general, whether in Europe or around the world. And maybe we can start by talking about your book, 30 Unforgettable Night Train Journeys in Europe. So clearly a lot of good things to choose from there. But what would you say are your top 3 night train journeys, either in Europe or around the world?
Okay, I would do 3 in Europe, and maybe I can do 1 or 2 in North America, if that's okay for you.
Oh, for sure.
All right. So something I would recommend to absolutely anyone is to take the night train in Italy that goes to Sicily. You can take it from Milan or from Rome. And basically, you're taking a night train. Classic, I mean, it's pretty affordable. It's like 90 euro, 100 euro, a bit more if you want a private compartment. But it's quite affordable. And basically, you take the night train, and in the morning, the night train is being loaded onto a ferry. Literally, like you're on the train, you're sleeping on a train that is on a ferry, and to cross the Strait of Messina. And like 30 minutes after you're in Sicily, the train is being unloaded and put back on tracks and head towards Syracuse or Messina. And this is just the last train ferry in Europe, which is to me just mind-blowing. It's the fact that you wake up at some point, you're on a ferry, you can go outside, you can go, on the deck and have a coffee, and you're like surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea. It's just so cool. It's really so cool. Yeah, I mean, it's just really unique, and it's like affordable. It's not too complicated. I mean, you can take it from Rome, you can take it from Milan.
And yeah, you end up in Sicily, which is just, oh gosh, magical, and what an experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful when you wake up. I mean, of course, you wake up usually on a boat, but then you run along the Mediterranean coastline. You have like the blue water, just something a plane would never do. And then another train journey I really enjoy, and I did actually recently, and that's something I have not covered in the book, the previous version, actually, is London to Fort Williams in the UK. It's going from London to Fort Williams, which is like in the Scottish Island. And to me, it's one of the most qualitative night train out there at the moment. It's called the Caledonian Sleeper. It's a bit pricey, but dang, it's really a good product. Again, you have like privacy in all of the rooms, so you're sure to be alone in your room. You have a dining car that's really, really nice. You have, I did it the last time in January with the double bed, the ensuite showers on board. So you board in London, you can go to the lounge, then the train departs. You can go to the dining car, have some like lovely Scottish whiskey, soups, haggis, a bunch of things, and then you go to sleep, and you wake up in the middle of the Scottish Island, like literally, and it's just out of a movie. It's insane. Again, that's like you fall asleep in London, and you just wake up in the middle of the Scottish Island. It's just, you have this teleportation, 8 hour, boom. It's just crazy, and just waking up, opening the shade, just feels magical. And I really fell in love with Scotland recently. It's just it's crazy. Most people think, yeah, it's raining, it's boring, but no, it's just I've been to a lot of places in my life, and Scotland is just breathtaking if you're okay with rainy weather.
And how beautiful that you can get a taste of that Scottish culture already on the train through, the food or the drink, or it's a fully immersive experience there.
Yeah, they're doing it perfectly. That's why I'm saying on the customer level experience, they're really good. Yes, I love it. And there is also, you can take the train to Aberdeen, Fort Williams. What's the last one? Aberdeen, Inverness. Glasgow and Edinburgh. So there's a lot of choice. It's mostly for actually business people, but also for tourists. So it's a really neat operation, and I just really love the Caledonian Sleeper. It's really I would recommend to anyone. It's a bit pricey, but it's worth the price, honestly. I mean, when you think about flying or like taking the train and then taking a hotel, it's pretty much the same. And so that's the second one on the list. Then the third one would be going from Berlin to Stockholm, from Berlin in Germany to Stockholm. Why I love so much this night train is because you basically fall asleep in Germany and wake up in the middle of the forest in Sweden. Or sometimes, it depends on the time of the season, you can wake up in Denmark, where you go there is two large bridges that you cross, and you're literally waking up over the sea. It's just I have many memories of taking this night train. There's two operators on the route, and sometimes you wake up at 6 a.m. because it was like the summer, so it was day really early, and I was in the middle of the sea. It was just so weird. And then after you just cross for several hours in the Swedish forest with beautiful lakes, all greenery. Or during the winter, I did it also in the winter. It's just full of snow. It's you go from continental Europe to Scandinavia really quick, and it just feels magical again.
We'll get back to the interview in just a moment.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Now, back to the show.
Okay, so we have Milan to Sicily, London to Fort Williams, London to Scotland, and Germany to Stockholm. So 3 from Europe, and then you have another one from North America.
Yeah, to me, all the night train journey in North America are worth exploring because it goes through many places and you see the whole US. And to me, taking the train in the US is the best way to discover the land. But if I have to recommend one, it would be from Chicago to Emeryville, so San Francisco in California. The train is called the California Zephyr, and it's 54 hours, so it's 2 nights on the train. It's quite long. But again, you're in your own bubble, and honestly, it's just fantastic. It's fine because you have your own compartment. You have the food at the dining car. You have a huge lounge where you can just have a drink. There's these panoramic windows. And during the first day, you go through the Great Plains. You wake up in Colorado, in Denver. Then you climb through the Rockies. Most of the day one, you're in the Rockies. Then you go past your Continental Divide. Then you're on the Great Plateau. You enter Utah by the end of day 2. And you wake up in the morning, you're almost in California, and you go through the Sierra Nevada. And by the end of day 3, you're just in the Bay Area. It's just crazy. It was one of my dreams personally to do this trip, and I did it for my 21st birthday when I was living there in 2021. Fantastic. That's a trip I would recommend to anyone, but also there is not only this one. You can do Seattle to Chicago. That's crazy fantastic. Chicago to LA, also fantastic. The transcontinental route of Amtrak are insanely good. It's expensive. It's $800 for one-way trip, but again, you have 2 nights into a hotel. And you have all the food is included, booze is included. A bit of it. At the end of the day, it's quite worth it. If you want to do a road trip, when you think about gas, car rental, hotel, food, the train is still more expensive, but yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Chicago to San Francisco, 54 hours, you said?
When it's on time.
When it's on time. Okay.
Yeah, it's never on time. It's never on time.
Oh, wow. Wow. But I mean, I think there's something also so zen about the idea of spending that long on a train, and you have to just sort of be in the moment, watching the landscape roll by outside. You can't, I mean, you're sort of being productive in that you're moving, but you're also just being perfectly still. I have never taken that long of a train journey in the United States, but you're really inspiring me to check out the sleeper train options in my home country.
No, you should really, and that's something I really discovered when riding Amtrak, because of course in Europe you're used to like 14 hours max train journeys. In the US it's really like 48 hours, 3 days. And at first I was like, oh, it's gonna be long, blah blah blah. And honestly, it's just you're such in a bubble, and finally you're taking time, because today's life everything is so rushed out. You have to reply to emails, you have to like get there as fast as possible. Do so many tasks during the day. And when you take the Amtrak train, you're such cut out from the world. You can finally read the book you want to read for like days, years. You finally like in your own bubble where the time doesn't matter anymore. You're just here. And this is, to me, it's really one of the most peaceful moments was like on board the Amtrak train. You're all of time. You finally speak to people like in a lounge. Nobody has cell phone. Nobody has service. Everybody's speaking to each other. There's people playing guitars, playing cards. This is really a break from the everyday rush of life. It's insane. And I'm planning to do one of the longest train ride in the US for like March of 2026. That would be my little holiday from. I want to go from Chicago to Texas on like the train, and then to Alpine in Texas to get to Great Bend National Park, and then go to Tucson, and Tucson to LA. So it will be the same train, but I will do some stopover in between. Something I actually recommend for like if you don't want to be stuck for 3 days on the train, just stop along the way and take the train the next day or 2 days after. It's something I did, for example, between Seattle and Chicago. I stopped in the Glacier National Park for like 4 days. It was just fantastic. It's really fantastic. You spend like 24 hours on the train, then get off, visit the park, get back on the train, go to Chicago, and then it's really perfect. And I think if you're not ready to do such a long journey, having break, for example, let's say on the California Zephyr I just mentioned, just stop in Chicago or Omaha for 1 or 2 days, just visit. Even in the middle of the Rocky Mountain National Park in Glacier, I don't know. Not in the Glacier, it's in Winter Park. Salt Lake, Reno, Truckee, I don't know. There's a bunch of places you can. This is why it's crazy with Amtrak. You have so many little places that it's just you don't even think when driving.
Oh, that's so cool.
I really recommend it to you.
So you've just given us 4 fantastic overnight rail journeys, 3 in Europe, 1 in North America. And this is really whetting my appetite for your book, Thibault, where you list even more, where you share even more night train journeys. Tell us a bit about your book and what's in it and where we can find it.
So the book is available in you can find it online on Amazon if you type my name, Thibault Constant, Trains de Nuit. You will find it. It's also available in German. You can find it also anywhere on the internet, mit dem Nachtzug durch Europa. But also something you should know, there is a second version coming out in October with 46 journeys. That will be, so it's like the second version that's coming out in October. So
oh, fantastic. And for now, it's available only in French and German. Is that right?
Unfortunately. I really wish it was in English. So many people were asking me. But basically in the book, it's to somebody that wants to learn French or German, I think it's totally doable because it's me who wrote it. And I'm not a great talker or like writer. It's not my specialty. I'm just here to speak about night trains. So I usually speak really simply about it. That's why I want just to make train travel really easy to understand. Because again, that's something we haven't touched, but it's quite complicated to navigate like all the booking system, all the different train type, it can give you a headache. So my book is also for people who want to travel by night train, and I give them little tips.
I think after this conversation, there will be among the listeners here even more night train devotees. And there's one opportunity that I wanted to ask you about. If there's anybody out there who's listening who loves trains, who loves night trains, who loves making content, Thibault, tell us about who you're looking to hire.
All right, so I need to, so of course, as the co-founder of Nox, I have less time to travel, unfortunately. But I'm okay with that, and I'm looking for people who would be willing to travel all across the world and just make videos about train. So it's a good job, and I've published something on Instagram where people can just find it, and you have until September to apply. Just give me a little bit about why you would be excited and how you can make a difference. So,
I mean, what a cool gig! Talk about a dream job. I wish I could apply for that, but kind of personal circumstances wouldn't allow me to travel quite that much. But wow, so travel around the world, make videos about railway journeys. Sounds like a good setup.
Yes, it's really. I did it for a couple of years. It's really the best job. It's just I really wanted to move out and just have a bigger impact on the train industry, because at the end of the day, I'm really happy when there is people who are switching from plane to trains. This is really what I want. This is my goal, and to make train travel just better. And that's actually why we created Nox, and now we are in the middle of financing this company and to get on track for 2027. Everything is looking good so far. So if you want to help on this journey, of course, you can go on our website and sign up for the Early Bird Club, where you can have exclusive information, but also reduced fare for the first booking, like a welcome drink when we will be launching in 2027, and be part of other many things. So, to you all there listening, if you want to support the journey of Nox, please go to the website and sign up for the waitlist, for the Early Bird Club, which is called waitlist also.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Thibault. We'll be sure to put all of those details about your YouTube channel, your book, Nox, where people can learn more and, sign up for more information, more details to be notified when things are launching. We'll also put your Instagram and the link to where you announce this new hire you're looking to bring on. Really, thank you so much, Thibault, for taking the time to join the show today, and good luck. Best of luck in this new adventure you're embarking on for, following your own passion, but also creating a service that I'm looking forward to enjoying one day in the not too distant future. And I'm sure lots of other people listening will be looking forward to enjoying as well. Thank you again for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, Paige. It was a pleasure to share my views on night train and the future of night train, because it's so exciting, and I'm really ready to move on. And without all my travels across the world, I wouldn't be here today and creating a night train company. So this is really the logical result of all my years traveling on the rails. And I'm super excited about the future. And
Well, we love to see it.
Thank you.
So there you have it, Constant Thibault. Thank you so much again to Constant for taking the time to come on the show. How cool would that be to get the gig of doing videos for his YouTube channel? Honestly, that sounds amazing. If that's your thing, I hope you jump on that opportunity. But gosh, it was great talking to Constant. Very best of luck to him in his new adventures. So I promised to share a quote from one of my favorite travel books of all time. The book is called The Art of Travel by Alain de Botton. It was published a little while ago in 2002, but I feel like it's still super relevant in terms of the big picture ideas and reflections that the author shares. It's a lot about what travel means for us, why we do it, right? So here's the bit I'd like to share. It's toward the end of the book. The pleasure we derive from journeys is perhaps dependent more on the mindset with which we travel than on the destination we travel to. If only we could apply a traveling mindset to our own locales, we might find these places becoming no less interesting than the high mountain passes and butterfly-filled jungles of Humboldt's South America. I love this idea of the traveling mindset. I mean, even if you're just going for a walk around the neighborhood or to the other side of town, how do you keep this curiosity, this sense of wonder and discovery, or a sort of a childlike mind, even when you're in a place you feel like you already know? But, maybe you don't really know it as well as you think. So just a little food for thought there. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you again soon. In the meantime, sending lots of peace and love to you and yours.
This podcast has been brought to you by ZeroToTravel.com. Ideas and advice to make your travel dreams a reality.